All right, this lesson is over clearing fractions. It's how can we make problems like this simpler than actually having to use all the fractions? Because to be honest, if I saw this problem on a homework assignment, probably would have skipped over it because it looks like it's too much work. But I'm going to show you kind of a cheating way to make it so much easier than dealing with all those fractions. So we're going to start with this one. Actually, let's start with this concept first. That if I have the problem 3 is equal to 2 plus 1, we agree that that is a true statement. If I decide to take everything and double it, so times everything by 2, I get 6 equals 4 plus 2. It's still a true statement as long as I applied that 2 to every single part here, both sides of the equal sign, every term that's there. So that's kind of where this is going to go, is we're going to use some multiplication. So looking at this first problem, the way we start this is we look at all the denominators, -5, 6, and 2, and say what is a number that they all go into. For this time we just kind of ignore the fact that this is negative. They all go into the number 30. So what I am going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by 30 over 1. I'm going to kind of show you the long way to do it first, and then I'll show you kind of the quick way with it. So if you remember multiplying fractions, we multiply the numerators times the denominators. So I'm going to start here. That's going to become 60 over -5m plus 30 times 1 is 30. 1 times 6 is 6 equals 30 times 3 is 90. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, right now it doesn't look like the fractions have gone away yet, but if we now think of this as a division sign, these actually all divide nicely into there. So 60 divided by -5 is -12, so -12m. 30 divided by 6 is 5. And 90 divided by 4 is 45. Notice how they all disappeared very, very nicely. Now, the other thing that I said I was going to show you a quicker way, because you're always multiplying by a whole number and one's in the denominator, a quicker way, I can just do 30 times 2 is 60 divided by -5 is -12. 30 times 1 is 30 divided by 6 is 5. 30 times 3 is 90 divided by 2 is 45. So it's just a little faster way to do it if we want to. Okay, now I just have a normal problem. So I'm going to take away 5 from both sides. And I get -12m equals 40. Divide both sides by -12. Now, I'm okay having your answer as an improper fraction. We just want to simplify it if we can. So as opposed to just writing m equals 40 over -12, I see that both of those can be divided by 4. So I would get 10/3. And I like to always tack the negative on top. There you go. That's our answer to that one. Okay, let's look at the next one. So here, this one, there's a lot of pieces. The 2 is really like 2 over 1, so that's kind of my denominator there. So I look at 1, 3, 6, 2, 4. 12 is the smallest number they both go into. So I'm going to kind of show you my cheating method of how to just skip all the way down here without that. So 12 times 2 is 24, divided by 1 is still 24. 12 times 1 is 12, divided by 3 is 4x. 12 times 5 is 60, divided by 6 is 10. 12 times 1 is 12, divided by 2 is 6, so 6x. 12 times 3 is 36, divided by 4 is 9. Let's see, I hope I did all my math right there. Okay, now I can simplify this side a little bit. Chop, chop, chicken. So that is 4x plus 14 equals 6x plus 9. Now I got a nice easier problem to solve. So I'm going to take away 4x from both sides. Get 14 equals 2x plus 9. Take away 9, take away 9. 5 equals 2x, divide by 2, divide by 2. So we could either write that x here is 5/2, or you could write it as 2.5. The one thing you do not want to write it as is 2.5. Reason being is it started as a fraction, so our answer should either end as a whole number or a fraction. You don't ever want to convert it to decimal. Okay, next one. The story problems are kind of the hardest ones to set up. So Mallory went on a shopping trip. She spent half her money on shoes, a third on a shirt, 1/10 to take her friend out to lunch, and came home with $12. How much did she start with? Remember that usually that last sentence is going to tell us what X is. So we're going to say X is the money she started with. So that's also going to start my story problem. She started with X. Excuse me. Now she spent half of her money. I know last time we were kind of doing X divided by 2, but because I have got a lot of fractions involved, instead I'm going to say X, so the total she had, minus half of an X. So half of the amount that she started. So that's half her money on shoes and a third on the shirt. So I need to take away 1/3 of or times the total amount. That's the biggest thing. We forget to put the X's with these. And then 1/10 of that money, so minus 1/10, to go out to lunch with her friend. She then came home with $12, so our end result is 12. Now that I have it set up, I want to look at, okay, what can I do for solving? Well, this is kind of like 1/1, so that denominator doesn't really matter. So we've got 2, 3, 10, and this would be over 1. So it looks like 30 is going to be our smallest. So I'm going to multiply every single thing by 30. Don't forget the 30 times 12. That's what most people forget there. So that's going to become 30x minus, and 30 times 1 is 30, divided by 2 is 15x, minus 30 times 1 is 30, divided by 3, 10x. 30 times 1 is 30, divided by 10 is 3x, equals 360. Now, I am going to chop chicken just so I don't get confused. And if I look, I have a bunch of negative x's, so I'm just going to kind of add those together to start my simplifying. That would be 15, that's 25, negative 28x equals 360. If I combine those two together, 2x equals 360. Divide both sides by 2, and I get x is 180. That's a lot of money she started with. So she started with $180. So again, a few little reminders that don't forget those fractions get x with it, and don't forget to multiply whatever number you're going to choose to clear the fractions with by the end result there. All right, Greg's gas tank is 1/5 full. He buys 6 gallons of gas. It is now 7/10 full. How many gallons can Greg's car hold? Okay, so X is going to equal total gallons car can hold. So if it is a 1/5 full, we would say 1/5 of the total that is possible is what he has. He buys 6 more gallons, so plus 6. That doesn't go with the X because it's not 6 gallons of the total. Is 7/10 full. So we're going to say equals 7/10 times X because it ends in that it's 7/10 of the full tank. Now, I'm going to look. 5 and 10. 10 goes into both of those, so I'm going to multiply everything by 10. 10 times 1 is 10, divided by 5 is 2x. 10 times 6 is 60. 10 times 7 is 70. 70 divided by 10 is 7x. Now, we can just solve. Take away 2x on both sides. I get 60 equals 5x. Divide by 5, divide by 5. I get x equals 12. So his car can hold 12 gallons. So you could have gone and done all these problems without fractions and like solved them this way, but oh my gosh, this is so much easier to deal with, especially when you get like really funky numbers like this, and that's fine. You can also always go back and check your answers. To be honest, I'm a little too lazy to do that on the homework. I just use the answer key, but we can use that on the test. You would just plug this into every single X in your calculator to solve to make sure that you have 2 sides that are equivalent. All right, good luck.